Welcome to This Week in Leadership Research, episode number 8. This week, let's talk about meetings. I'll try to answer 3 questions. What is meeting after the meeting? What purposes does it serve? And what factors that determine the meetings after the meeting? These are the questions posed in the article titled The Meeting After the Meeting, a Conceptualization and a Process Model. The article was published in Organizational Psychology Review in 2022. The link of the article is in the description section below. First, what is a workplace meeting? As usual, there are different definitions. An initial definition is that a meeting is any pre-scheduled, work-focused gathering of at least 2 people. Later, researchers argue that meetings don't have to be pre-arranged. The definition of meeting then switched to discussion. In meetings, discussion must be structured than a simple talk among co-workers. In the article I introduced today, researchers argue that a traditional view treats meetings as discrete, formal events, reflecting an overall tendency to focus on highly visible formal interactions, such as strategy meetings, management briefings, public events, and presentation by senior company figures. Those scheduled and highly structured meetings are assumed to be where the important work is done. However, meetings can take on both formal as well as informal exchanges used to be limited to the small office kitchen or water cooler, that is, water cooler talk. Large office spaces today are purposely complemented by meeting areas that invite rather than stifle casual exchange among employees. Modern workplaces for the new way of work are especially designed to enable interaction between employees to facilitate informal exchange, knowledge transfer, and spontaneous innovations. It is possible that formal meetings are not able to fully serve all the important task and relationship-focused purposes of meetings, including sharing information, making decisions, problem-solving, and managing conflict. Meeting goers may leave a formal meeting with some degree of ambiguity that warrants further discussion. This state of ambiguity can lead to what we call the meeting after the meeting. The meeting after the meeting is defined as an unscheduled, informal, and confidential communication event that arises as a consequence of a previous formal meeting and is invited by a subset of participants who attended the original meeting. Although the meetings after the meeting does not have a meeting agenda or an appointed chair who structures the interaction by controlling the conversational floor, it might be just as important or even more important to group and organizational functioning than the formal meeting that precedes it. Why do people have the meeting after the meeting? To answer this question, we need to look at what purpose it serves. The primary purpose of the meeting after the meeting is to make sense of emotional reactions following a formal meeting. It provides an opportunity for people to interpret and make sense of what took place in the preceding formal meeting. In the meeting after the meeting, you may hear people say, "What just happened in the meeting? Do you hear Joe said that? Is it just me seeing Jane did that in the meeting?" The preceding formal meeting can evoke both positive and negative emotions of meeting goers. Those emotions need to be expressed in some way, and the meeting after the meeting serves that purpose for meeting goers to express their emotions triggered by the preceding formal meeting, and they help them regain control over the situation and adjust their behavior in future formal meetings. For example, after the meeting, Meeting goers may be more prepared for the next formal meeting so that they are able to answer certain questions about the status of a joint project. On the other hand, meeting goers may feel that they are not being respected. Their views are dismissed in the formal meeting, or they are not even allowed to voice their opinions. If their feelings are validated in the meeting after the meeting, they may change their behavior in future meetings, such as by offering less constructive comments or possibly even by showing counterproductive meeting behavior by coming late to meeting and engaging in side talk. What are defining features of the meeting after the meeting? Here we focus on when, where, how, and who. First, when it takes place. The meeting after the meeting is born out of the preceding formal meeting, but it doesn't have to immediately follow the formal meeting. It can be delayed up to a few days. The important thing is that it serves the purpose of making sense of the formal meeting. Second, where does it take place? The meeting after the meeting can take place in spaces of informal workplace encounters, such as small group discussions in the cafeteria, hallway, or even the photocopier room. It also takes the form of a more private interaction that occurs behind closed doors in employees' offices. In addition to physical spaces in workplace, it is possible that the meeting after the meeting takes place in online interactions and phone calls. Regardless, the meeting after the meeting is more secretive and confidential than the formal meeting. Third, how does it take place? Because of its informal nature, communication in the meeting after the meeting is rich and more interactive. The flow of conversation is self-initiated and less dictated by the formal roles and functions of meeting goers in the group. This secretive, confidential, and less hierarchical setting allows people to share their thoughts and opinions they did not feel comfortable sharing in the preceding formal meeting. Fourth, who is involved? Since the meeting after the meeting is still a meeting, it involves at least two people who are in the original formal meeting. The meeting after the meeting is always smaller than the original meeting from which it was born. If the meeting after the meeting had an identical constellation of participants, it would be a mere continuation of the original meeting. Since the meeting after the meeting is not planned, it emerges from the situation through mutual and often implicit agreement. There has to be strong trust among the meeting participants. They won't start the meeting after the meeting until other individuals leave the physical space. How to apply the findings of this article to your leadership practices? Do you encourage or discourage those meetings after meetings? Recall the secretive, confidential, unscheduled, and informal nature of the meeting after the meetings. They cannot be completely prevented. Rather than viewing the meeting after the meeting as something unwanted that should best be discouraged or silenced, it's helpful if you see it as a valuable warning sign. You can use the meeting after the meeting to indirectly gain important insights into your employees' everyday experiences at work. You can be more sensitive for those post-meeting interactions and make an effort to understand your employees' perspectives. If you're a researcher, I hope the article I introduced today can offer some inspirations for your research. If you are a leader or aspire to be a leader, I hope this article can guide you in your leadership practices. Stay open-minded, get inspired, and never stop improving your leadership skills. I'll see you next week in This Week in Leadership Research.